I've never wanted to be some like mogul who had some empire of publicity. I've always just wanted to do like really artful things that made impact and were credible and meant something. And I really care about my quality of life a lot. I am Kathryn Frazier. I'm the founder and CEO of Biz3. I am an ICF certified life coach, professional coach, relationship coach. I first grew up in Detroit, single mom, never knew my dad. Mom was a secretary. We lived with her and her best friend in an apartment complex with a bunch of kids and a bunch of single moms. I was a latchkey kid. Me and the lady running latchkey were sitting there waiting for Marge to come, but she was trying her best. She was juggling. I would daydream, and I saw this movie Flashdance back in the 80s. I snuck into the theater after a different movie, and I was blown away by the woman from Flashdance because she was like this Renaissance every woman. She had this cool loft. She lived in the city, and she wore her little cut-up sweatshirts, and she was like sexy, but she was also a welder and could make things. And I was like, okay, I need to be like her. There was a lot of daydreaming and manifesting. I had my whole life planned out daily in my little daydream sessions. It started the path. My path after being in college and wanting to be actually a therapist, I had a lot of imposter syndrome early on. You're not smart enough, you're not rich. You know, I went to college and there were people who had money and I always felt a little less than. So I then decided, well, maybe if I hang out with people who are more sophisticated or kind of intellectually superior, that will sort of bring me up and make me not seem like such a country bumpkin over here. So I moved to Chicago, best music scene in the world at that time, in the early 90s. Full of all kinds, like the best music, so many genres. I was working a corporate job out of college where I wore these like suits and we sold copiers to universities and I typed up proposals. It was like a terrible job. I would get my work done really quickly and then I would sneak and like use their phone to like book bands because we had no email back then. Got a job at the Metro. This amazing man, Joe Shanahan, gave me a job. A job, meaning I called him like a telemarketer literally for a year, constantly calling. His assistant was like, he's not, like, just give it up. It was like a movie where I was like, just give me 5 minutes in front of him. I finally got in front of him. I'll never forget, I showed up wearing a suit, like a beige suit with like shoulder pads and like a ruffled, I mean, I must have looked so bizarre and like such a nerd to him. I don't know why he let me get an internship, but he was basically like, you can work for free. I worked for almost a year for free. I was on unemployment and it was just, you know, ramen noodles every day, all day. Eventually, he's like, all right, you've got a job. And I got a job for $14,000 a year. We are gonna now elevate up to, I would order burritos instead of ramen. And that was cool, that was a big step up. And then I met Jenny Body, who is still a really prominent publicist. She and I were talking and she said, I do press. And I was like, what is that? And she said, I get people into magazines or people to review your record. But I remember her two clients were Soundgarden and Nirvana. She was like, yeah, I get paid like 500 bucks a month. I remember just being like, whoa, that's crazy. I said, will you teach me to do that? So she lived in Los Angeles. On the phone, she taught me how to be a publicist. Like, here's how you do a press release, which is interesting to verbally tell someone how to do that job, not like show me on a computer or like have me look at an example. I wish the whole world could go analog for like 1 week just to see how much you had to do just to get to what we can do in like 5 seconds now. That is a pivotal point in my career. There's these moments where we have to be decisive. You have these crossroads in your life all the time. And when you make these big decisions that feel scary, that can change your whole life. I told my boss I wanted to have a publicity company because I just learned about it. And he said, why don't you have an office in my office? I'll pay you $30,000 a year. And then we would split the profits. He was working with Smashing Pumpkins at the time, and you know, he was like a very established person, and I was like super cool guy, very indie, like, you know, I was like allergic to anything that felt mainstream at the time. I had this awareness of like, scope out bigger picture. You are gonna be very irritated to give someone half your money a couple years down the road when you're the one doing the work. God bless him for wanting to give me that opportunity, and forever thankful, but I have to do this for myself. I named the company Biz3 because when I decided to start the company, it was a very quick decision. It wasn't some methodical thing that I planned out for a long time. It was like, I want to have my own business. I want to be my own boss. Someday I want to have kids and not worry about like where my time is spent, which is funny that I was thinking about having children because I didn't even have a boyfriend at the time. My stepdad always used to say I was giving him the biz because when I wanted something or I wanted out of something, I would pitch. And then I had this little OCD thing where I would do everything 3 times. So like when I would go to sleep at night, I would turn the light off 3 times, or open the refrigerator door, I would open it 3 times, or I thought bad luck would happen. So biz, and then, you know, 3. And I have no idea why I came up with that. It was a very impromptu thing because I was going to South by Southwest in a week and I felt like I should have a name for the company, and then it just stuck. And I don't have OCD anymore. I don't do things 3 times. I've never wanted to be some like mogul who had some empire of publicity. I've always just wanted to do like really artful things that made impact and were credible and meant something. And I really care about my quality of life a lot. I have friends in the industry who make way more money than I do and are building these definitely like empires. I think it's amazing. But for me, I'm not willing to compromise some of that, like just joy. When I started Biz 3, I started it because I had cared about art and music and the stuff I loved, like the integrity of what I was doing. We have carried that spirit. I mean, the company's become much bigger and we work, you know, very big artists and all kinds of different artists now. But we still really only take on stuff that we really believe in. There's some artists that I've turned down many times because I don't like what they're putting out into the world. The Guardian calling me the rock star whisperer, I mean, I just sort of laughed when I saw it. If I go around calling myself that, that would be really ego and corny, but there's something like that I thought was like kind of sweet about it, because I guess I feel like that. I have always been able to talk to creatives, and I feel a lot of empathy towards people who are creatives. My job is to make people famous and to make their art be seen by as many people as possible. That is what a publicist does. We are taking you and your art and putting it out as far as you can go. And yes, it's helpful to help people's art go into the world, but there's also a much bigger lane in a way for me, which is how do you do that and also have that person feel whole inside and not lose touch with the groundedness. I decided I needed to put my efforts into figuring out how to help people in that way, because that felt really important. When I started to want to help people, it started more 25 years ago when I first really learned how to meditate. I started to spread what I knew, whether it was therapy, meditation, plant medicine, supplements, energetic work. I ran with it. My therapist said to me, why don't you become a life coach? And I was like, a life coach, that sounds kind of bullshit to me. And she was like, no, 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 it's totally legit and amazing and helpful. And she gave me like an actual pamphlet she had in her office. I don't know why. I went on a very deep dive on the internet. I realized there's a lot of life coaching programs that you can go to a Marriott in Florida and get it in a weekend. You have to do the deep dive on yourself, for sure, before you can go do it with others. And really realized you have to ask questions to get people to their truth, not tell them what to do. There's no advising. Learning how to ask powerful questions and hold space and have silence and pauses and let people have their aha moments. I feel so blessed. We made this video for when my company turned 25. I don't want to even say my company. So many people have made this company be what it is. It's been cool to just be a part of culture shifts. Like I remember when I met J. Cole, he was a kid who had a mixtape. He didn't sign to Roc Nation yet. And I was like, I'll do you for free. I'll help you with this mixtape. I loved him because he was just so authentic and real. He was just sharing his life and his anecdotes. And it reminded me of early rap that I loved. Listening to J. Cole talk about his daily life didn't seem so far off as like when like Slick Rick would walk us through a day in a life. I remember he sat me down for the Forest Hills Drive album. You know, we'd talk for hours, but then we could switch into talk where he was talking about Eckhart Tolle and I was sharing The Power of Myth, Joseph Campbell with him, and we just go so deep, and I just knew that he was such an authentic person and that it was gonna hit people. Years later, I remember I went to see him at Staples Center. He had an entire arena where he would talk between songs and they would be silent, listening to him give anecdotes between songs. And it was such a testament that you can make an arena of people and hear what you had to say. I could see that in him because he was able to do that back when he first started. So he had it right out of the gate. He always felt like that to me. Some things that I feel are important. to making it, you have to have really good discourse with yourself, emotionally honest. You have to know what you feel and listen to it. Pursue the thing that you actually want to do. And you have to be brave and ask for things. Even when you're young, always have a bigger picture. Sometimes fight or flight kicks in and you're just like, I don't have a bigger picture view. I just need to get through this week or this month. But if you can still, even in that, pull back a little bit to see the bigger picture, because if you can't imagine and daydream up what you actually want to be doing, I don't see how you can manifest anything. You cannot manifest something if you can't picture it. And don't just picture it a little. Daydream that thing into manifestation, into your actual life.